Welcome back to What's the FinTech, your FinTech feel-good show. What's the FinTech is a news and information platform covering the latest FinTech development in Hong Kong, Singapore, China, and Asia. Join us every week for an engaging conversation with various Asian tech figures to discuss entrepreneurship, emerging technologies, customer engagement, and partnership. Before starting this interview, feel free to share your question in the comment section and share it with your friends. And today we have Steffanie from Endowus. Hello, Steffanie. How are you today?
Hi, Medhy. Thanks for having me.
It's really great to have you. I know you are like now a co-chair of the FinTech Association on the Wealth Tech Committee, right? But also Endowus has a lot of information to share about recent progress. I saw the conference last week, so I would like to just discuss a bit about it with you. Especially you are starting the office in Hong Kong, right?
Yes, so I'm currently the head of Hong Kong for Endowus. I just started in May. Endowus is a Singapore headquartered digital wealth platform. It's quite amazing. It's the first digital platform in Asia to pioneer the fee only model, which, for those who's familiar with asset wealth management, would know. In Asia, asset wealth management industry runs on trailer fees, but elsewhere around the world, it's moved on to a fee only model, whereas your financial advisors actually don't get compensated with commissions but get paid by you. For example, Medhy, you go to a bank, you pay your advisor to make sure you get uncompromised advice instead of sort of your RM pushing you products based on commissions they get. So I thought it was very exciting that Endowus started that sort of fee only revolution slash disruption in Singapore. And we think there are a lot of common sort of pain points we see in Hong Kong as well. So very excited to bring that into Hong Kong. We can share more about that later, but that's a sort of brief intro on Endowus. And yes, you're right. So I was born and raised in Hong Kong, so really wanted to sort of contribute more to the fintech community of Hong Kong. So recently took up the co-chair role for Wealth Tech Committee in FTHK. Very much look forward to engaging with the wider fintech community on fostering discussions and collaborations on wealth tech. Yeah.
I'm sure you will do an amazing job at the FinTech Association and also on the FinTech ecosystem. And it's great to see like more players coming from Singapore and Hong Kong, especially after like all this COVID situation we got for a couple of times. So thanks to be here. Really happy to have you here. You introduced already the company, a bit of yourself. There is anything you would like to share with us a bit to be familiar with your face and who you are?
Yeah, sure. As I said, I'm actually Hongkie, born and raised in Hong Kong. Actually have quite a traditional, typical resume like you would see in CBD Central in Hong Kong. I actually started out very much in fin, not in tech, in investment banking in Hong Kong. So I was an M&A banker. And I'd say if I were to look back, or I think the Stephanie sort of back in the day when I first started would not have imagined I would ended up in fintech, because I was very much focused on, oh, I want to be an investment banker. So the transition happened after doing 6-7 years of investment banking. I moved to join a buy side venture capital fund. Just happened that that fund was specialized in fintech investments in China. So little did I know that that was actually a career switch for me. That I was exposed to the world of fintech, and particularly we're focused on China fintech. And I moved over in 2015. It was very much the height, the great innovation period of China fintech. It really got me exposed to this world. As I think a lot of us familiar with fintech would agree, China a couple years ago, I think they definitely leapfrog rest of the world. Some of the innovations I saw was breathtaking, and I got very interested into this world, and I decided to move over. I first joined Ant Financial in 2019, leading its international expansions to elsewhere in Asia, particularly around its wealth management business. And then, unfortunately, last year, because of COVID, I decided to move back to Hong Kong for
Mhm.
my family. And at first, I decided to move back to a more traditional route. I joined a local asset manager, but after a year of that, I decided like fintech is really what I really liked, and I came across Endowus, its founders, its mission. We can talk more about that later, but they really touched me, and I was really impressed by the firm. I decided I want to move back to the fintech world. So middle of this year, 2022, I decided to join Endowus to bring Endowus to Hong Kong.
Oh, amazing. One of the things I feel like every time I speak with entrepreneurs or people like you working for fintech, it's this entrepreneur way, the entrepreneurship way to see the things, bring them a better version of themselves. Is it the same for you? Is fintech and entrepreneurship bringing the best of yourself or helping you to be the person you want to be tomorrow?
Yes, I think I agree. I think, especially for me, I've worked in both big institutions and fintech. I started a career in big banks. I moved to fintech, and then I decided, oh, maybe like at the stage of my life, maybe I treasure more security, cash flow, stability. I moved back to bigger firms, corporates, and I got that reverse cultural shock. I thought, oh, I started out my career in big banks. It's I could get adopted, but I guess once you've worked in fintech, you especially my days in Ant, you really feel like what you do make a bigger impact. And the way we think about things in tech firms is slightly different from traditional banks. I think a lot of institutions with people like you are changing the way how big banks and traditional FIs are run. But I think when I was in big banks, we are still very much product focused, whereas in tech firms and fintech firms, very much client centric focus. And once I've sort of moved on to that mindset, for me to move back to big tech and not focus on client centric stuff, it was an adjustment. It was very difficult for me to move back to. I really like how tech companies have a very much client centric mindset, what problems we're trying to solve. Yeah, and I wake up every day very excited because this is how we think about things. And I definitely, although I'd say like working in big FIs, you have the luxury, it's a bit more stable, but I do think the fulfillment and the kind of achievement you get in the startups, in a more entrepreneurial environment, it is not for everyone, but I think for me, for myself, I find more fulfillment and sort of accomplishment.
Great. Yeah, I do recall what you say, and I do, yeah, understand exactly. Yeah, some of the bank are interesting because they are more innovative, but in the fintech, it's everything you are doing have a big impact on your company, right? Now, I would like to speak a bit more about Endowus. I saw last week a big buzz about the event you have done in Singapore. A lot of my friends in Singapore in the fintech space were invited there, speakers, or went just to see uh, all the takeaways they can have, all the speakers they speak there, and enjoy it. So, can you tell us a bit more about what you are doing exactly? What is the company doing? I have downloaded the application just before you came to try.
Mhm.
It's a great application, but I would like to have more understanding, and especially the people that don't know your company like this, they can have a clear picture, and if they want to try, they can try the application, for example.
Yep. For those of you who are from Singapore, probably have heard of Endowus, but for those of us in Hong Kong, probably have not heard of Endowus. I also have not heard of Endowus before they reach out to me. Endowus, the name of Endowus actually stands for Endowment Style of Investing for All of Us. So I think why I got interested in joining this company is throughout my experience working in fintech over the years, I do have learned something that increasingly to be a successful fintech, you have to be strong in both fin and in both tech. And I think what's unique about our firm is I think we're really strong in fin and strong in tech. So strong in fin, our chairman, our investment team, a lot of them are from big investment institutions. So one of our co-founders, he is a very exciting gentleman. His name is Sam, used to be CEO and CIO of Morgan Stanley Investment Management for Asia. And our tech team, very strong. Obviously, Southeast Asia, very vibrant ecosystem. Our CEO, he used to work in Grab. Our CTO, also a mix of investment banking and tech experience. We are really truly a team. I think we struck the right balance. We have this right balance of team from the institutional investing background, sort of investing on the behalf of big endowment funds and sovereign wealth funds, helping them do asset allocation at very low cost. But in the retail world, it's actually quite hard for any of us to do that because first, it's hard for us to access a lot of the products that's only reserved for big financial institutions. Second is there is a big cost differential between a sovereign wealth fund and a retail investors. And I think for our team, particularly on the investment side, they've traditionally been serving big institutional investors, but they keep thinking this is really the right way to invest. How can I help their friends and family, even themselves? They really think this is the right way to do as allocation, to do core satellite instead of sort of retail speculation, picking stocks here and then, oh, big drop today, and then I panic and then I sell, and you end up selling at the worst point in time, right? But how do I do systematic, scientific sort of way of investing, like the biggest investors in the world, the Yale endowments, they do that. It's actually, even when you try to do it, it's actually quite difficult for retail investors to replicate for the problems that I mentioned to you. So the founders of the company essentially wanted to build this platform to enable retail investors to also be able to sort of invest in the right way, be able to do proper asset allocation. So we worked with the largest asset managers in the world. We believe that with technology, you can really lower the servicing cost of a customer. We work with asset managers to get our clients access to institutional share class. We use our platform, use technology to think about how we can scale our professional advice from our investment team, sort of scale it up to sort of a wider audience. And I think one most two most important things that Endowus innovated. One was I briefly mentioned earlier at the start is pioneering that fee-only model instead of running on a commission-based model for our clients. So in other parts of the world, I think this revolution started out maybe 10, 15 years ago. I think a lot of even regulators and industry participants, they realize there's an issue because when you are a distributor of financial products, you really do want to serve your clients the best. You have your fiduciary duty, but you actually your business model, you're not compensated by your investors. Instead, you're actually getting commissions by the product providers. And in difficult times, let's say this year is very difficult times, markets are volatile, you have strong KPI pressures. It is sort of human nature that you would then incentivize to recommend products that you earn higher commissions to your clients instead of products or portfolios that are quote unquote best for your clients. It's not like people are not trying to do bad things, but it's understandable, right? So we really think it is sort of there are deficiencies in this model inherently that incentivize the RMs to not act in best interest of clients. So in elsewhere in the world, in the UK, in Australia, regulators have actually mandated that financial advisors cannot be rewarded by product issuers. They have to be sort of paid by their end client so that there is no sort of misalignment of interest. Interestingly, in Asia, I think people are more accustomed to old ways of doing business. I think there are chatter, there are discussions like, oh, is this the way forward for Asia? People do agree that we've seen this revolution, fee only revolution happening elsewhere in the world. It will happen to Asia, but no one has actually done anything to migrate to this model. And understandably, because it is we're talking a lot of money, like the commissions. I don't know, many of you know, right? If you sell financial products, I buy a fund, let's say it says 1% management fee. Actually, half of that management fee, the fund manager doesn't pocket. It goes to the distributor, whether it's a financial advisor, whether it's a bank, whether it's an insurance agent that sells you that product, right? So it is a lot of money. So interestingly, incumbents are not incentivized to change this, but the founders and Endowus think it is really the right thing to do. It is in best client interest. So they started this new model in Singapore, and we actually did get a lot of help from big global asset managers who also agree this model is good. It's happened elsewhere in the world, and they gave us a leg up in Singapore. Big fund houses like Dimensional, like PIMCO, Schroders, Fidelity worked with us in Singapore, and I guess to a lot of people's surprises, Endowus actually grew quite fast. It wasn't the first wealth tech platform that grew out of Singapore. Singapore is now increasingly seeing a lot of innovation in the wealth tech space, but definitely, I think we're one of the fastest growing platforms. And I think it is going back to what I say, when you're client centric, especially in market sort of volatile conditions like this, people feel the difference. And we're still seeing like strong inflows from our clients this year because they do understand that, oh, Endowus is here to serve them at their best interest. And we just broke a 2 billion AUM Sing dollar
Congrats.
earlier this year. I think that's really impressive. Within 2 years of establishment, we got there. So first stop is Singapore. I think same pain points in Hong Kong: high fees, misaligned interests, very hard to find reliable professional financial advice, even for me, for my friends who work in financial services. In fact, we're actually all not very good at managing our money. So I actually think very excited to bring Endowus to Hong Kong because we are solving pain points for clients in this market.
So you just mentioned before you are not the first wealth tech platforms in Singapore. You have competitors there, or maybe like also allies, right? What is the difference between your startup and the others? What distinguishes you? It's the product, it's the app, it's the way you spoke about the fees, right? But there is also other features that maybe you can share with us what makes your success.
Yeah, so I joined Endowus because I think it's slightly differentiated from other players. I've also been approached by other players, obviously, as there are increasing number of players entering into the Hong Kong market. But I ultimately decided to join Endowus because I really align with the way how they think about things. I think the first wave of wealth tech, a lot of players, I guess they're from like founders, they're from e-commerce background, they're data scientists. I think a lot of focus was, oh, I can use technology, I can use an algorithm to create this product for clients and so that they can beat the market. I think that was the initial focus for a lot of the fintechs. But obviously, when I was in Ant, we also tried to do that, and we had the best scientists, the best data. But I think ultimately, what I learned from that first wave is actually investing is really all about art and science.
Mhm.
Yes, you have a lot of data, you have strong AI capabilities, but how the financial markets react to a certain set of data, sometimes people are irrational. So sometimes you look at a data point, other participants might interpret it differently. So we do realize in the past couple of years that direction um, actually is not as successful as we thought it would be, and it's understandable. I mean, quant funds like running on that kind of mentality, oh, I can use data, I can use algorithms to beat market, has been sort of in the market for decades. But there are only a handful of successful quant funds, so it's not that easy. um, I think the next wave of wealth tech, which I think why I'm aligned with Endowus, what I find most interesting actually now is not the product innovation. That's why Endowus, we work with the largest asset managers in the world, the Fidelity, the BlackRock, the KKR. We don't think as a startup, we don't have as much resources as a firm. We don't have to reinvent the products. We actually think the main pain points is actually how you service the client. So that's the bit I find most interesting. And I find interesting how technology can help us to better serve our clients. So, for example, one of my older bosses, he is like a very famous, big name private banker in Hong Kong, used to bank with a lot of the tycoon families. And I go to meetings with him. Like every single comment, like a facial expression, he knows exactly what the client's thinking, and they really trust him. He is really a confidant to the family, and he really give them really good advice, and is a really trusted relationship. Um, but because he really this sort of knowledge was built upon 10, 20 years of knowing that client, right? That's why he doesn't have time to be able to learn about like Medhy, me. That's why he can only focus on 10 of the richest families in Hong Kong. And that's why these kind of really bespoke, personalized, professional private banking services. It's reserved to the richest of the rich. But with technology, maybe we can think of ways how can we mimic to quasi be able to provide mass affluent investors same kind of quasi experience, but no need for physical human being, because when you interact on a platform, you actually do also leave a lot of traces for us to understand and analyze who you are and what are your preferences, how we can better serve you. And we can use this data and use sort of technology to think about how we can quasi provide that kind of professional service to you. For example, I have to admit I'm kind of like a very emotional investor. So let's say if the Fed is actually having a meeting tonight. They might raise interest rates tonight, so the market's probably going to tank. So when markets tank, I do lock in and out. I maybe it's a female thing. I don't want to stereotypical things, but I am kind of a more emotional kind of investor compared to some of my friends and my colleagues. So that's a bucket of investors. If we observe that, oh, Stephanie, in light of market volatilities, you tend to really care about the markets. You kind of all want to check in your portfolios. Maybe we can preempt that. We set an algorithm. We send you some chicken soup. We preempt you. Oh, the Fed is said this. That's why the market's reacting this. So that it gives you that comfort that that someone's looking after your money, right? So that's one bucket. Medhy, maybe you are a person that's a bit more level-headed, very scientific. Markets tank, you're like, okay, great. Warren Buffett says when people are scared, I should go in, right? Then you're another bucket of client. We looked at your data. Oh, you're very scientific. When markets tank, you actually go in to invest more. So the way my platform, the algorithm interacts with you will be slightly different. And I actually think this is really the servicing part that I find very interesting, is how do I scale my client advisors to be able to serve more clients so that more people can get professional advice instead of, I think right now, if I'm just like a normal, not a billionaire, I go to a normal retail bank or a financial advisor, because we don't have that personalization. It's very much a cookie cutter solution. Like everyone gets recommended same ETF. Everyone gets recommended the same product. But it's not just about crafting the right portfolios, but how do I serve different clients differently? How do I sort of cater to different people's personalities, preferences? Actually, we were doing a lot of A/B testing, for example, like maybe I'm a morning person, you're a night person. At which time should I send you communications? I have the highest sort of click rate of my communication. These are also things that we're looking at, and I think that's very interesting. And I think what I find, and that was also very interesting, is I think robo advisor was the first sort of hype word that came out of wealth tech, and is universal because I've worked with many wealth tech platforms around the world. I think there is kind of like a magic number. When you reach a certain wealth level, you put on a platform, you don't want a robot to serve you. You do want, okay, if I have a billion on this platform, right? If markets tank, I do want to call someone to tell me what's happening. And what I find interesting about Endowus is we are not a robo advisor. We do have client advisors, but we're trying to see how we can leverage technology to make our client advisors more efficient in serving our clients so we don't have to replicate the same cost base of a private bank. Using data analytics, what I mentioned, preempt some of the questions, sort of create more personalized service, not just on products to our clients. And sometimes it's just a perception. Because Medhy, you said you tried account opening on our platform. When I also tried to test out the platform, I realized like on our platform, we have a lot of photos of people. It gives you that sort of human touch as well. Sometimes clients is not really exactly, oh, I need to go on lunch with a client advisor. It's the perception. So how do we embed kind of human touch, but integrated with technology? I think these are all things that Endow is trying to crack, and I find very interesting. I think it's the next inning or next evolution of wealth tech from sort of robo advisor, uh, sort of creating a very user-friendly, fast platform to the next level, like more personalized service. How do you sort of create more personalized caterings and human touch to the whole offering? I think that's something that we're trying to crack, and I find very exciting.
Amazing. I was working before in a wealth tech company as well, and we had a picture of like a super advisor, so a human touch with the data coming to you and being closer and hyper personalized with your customer. It's something like all the company try to do, right? But like what you just share with us means like you take a lot of times analyzing the data, doing A/B testing is really great. Um, Quick question about the market where you are. You are in Singapore right now, but if someone want to invest on the platforms, they can invest in every market or only like US, Hong Kong or Singaporean markets.
Oh, so that's something that I find very interesting. So we really embrace the approach of clients should have globally diversified portfolios. In my sort of 5 6 years transition into asset wealth management industry, I think it's true. It's not just Asia. Across the world, investors tend to have home biased, and particularly for Asia, like my parents throughout their lives, they've mainly just invested in Hong Kong, China stocks, and that worked for them for 20, 30 years. But the last 2 years, it didn't work because Hong Kong, China was the worst performing market. And increasingly, people understand, oh, the importance of diversification. And this is also what we're trying to, the investment philosophy we're trying to bring to retail clients. Because again, endowments, the biggest investors in the world, we have this saying in the financial world: diversification is the only free lunch in investing,
Yeah,
right?
you learn directly at the school. Yes.
Yeah. So our goal is to provide access to global investment products to our clients, which traditionally, particularly, I'm more familiar with Hong Kong. It's actually not easy for clients to get access to. It can be expensive. Before some of the very well-known platforms came to Hong Kong, I remember, right? Some one of the big local banks actually didn't have U.S. stockbroking function, and even with the big banks, I remember the U.S. stockbroking platform, the UI UX was very very challenging to use. The fees are high. Increasingly, I think fintechs are unlocking this global investment opportunity for clients. I think for Endowus, we're solving another issue. So the first layer of fintechs really solves the issue of, okay, people get this really cool platform, they can trade US stocks. And then they chase the meme stocks, the ARK, and it worked for a while. It didn't work recently. So I think the next level of sort of investing, sort of innovation we want to bring to clients is advice. It's like once you have a good user friendly platform, the next level of servicing that they're looking for is more advice. Like, yes, I have access to all the ETFs, all the stocks, but which one should I buy, right? So we craft globally diversified portfolios for our clients. We curate products for our clients. And yeah, I mentioned I was very impressed by our team because we have a very strong investment team. These guys are all from institutional investing background, from Morgan Stanley, from Morningstar, from Mercer, and we can talk more about culture. Like we have a fantastic culture. These are all um, folks that have been serving institutions, and they are wondering, is there a way for me to bring this expertise to not just serve the biggest corporations, the biggest institutions, to mom and pop, to retail investors as well? So we have a very strong investment team trying to bring their very strong domain expertise and marry with our tech stack to be able to offer that to a broader user base.
And how big is the team? Because you mentioned a lot about them, but do you have a big team mostly? And where are they based? Are they mostly based in Singapore, or do you have like teammates everywhere around the world?
Yeah, so we started out in Singapore. In Singapore, we are now at north of 140.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
impressive.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So and like any other tech company, right? More than 50, 60% of that is tech and product. but we do have a very strong investment team, a 10-person fund selection team. We're building out our company in Hong Kong, and that's what's been keeping me busy. I'm very fortunate that we have a very strong tech and product team in Singapore, and it's something that I really envy. I spent 3 months in Singapore earlier this year. I think it has a really vibrant ecosystem. Hopefully, like there are chatter that Hong Kong will get rid of quarantine. There's more influx of talent back into Hong Kong. I think in Hong Kong, we that's why I am getting more involved in FTHK. I do think talent is a critical issue we need to solve in Hong Kong. We everyone's embracing tech, fintech, but it is quite difficult to hire engineers in Hong Kong, and it's expensive. Um, in Singapore, we have this great pool of talent and it's very diversified. We have engineers from India, from Korea, from different nationalities. Um, Hopefully, one day, very soon, when the border opens again, I think the Hong Kong government's doing a lot to promote fintech talent. We can also have a really vibrant pool of tech talent in Hong Kong as well. But I do see at the moment, the slight difference between Singapore and Hong Kong. But I think in Hong Kong, we do have an edge in terms of domain expertise. So a lot of the sort of investment expertise, my client advisors, local Hong Kong marketing talent, I'm going to hire in Hong Kong. But the sort of product tech team, I'm going to leverage headquarters help.
So you mentioned about creating the team in Hong Kong. So this is your biggest challenge right now. It's what keeps you really busy every day. And what are your plans? Definitely, are you hiring a lot of people? What kind of people are you looking for? What are your goals to come in Hong Kong and develop the business here?
Yes. Amazingly, actually, Endowus, we already got our license in Hong Kong earlier this year. I was also really surprised because I think that's usually the biggest delay for fintechs is, oh, I need to get regulatory approval for a license. So I think regulators and generally do appreciate sort of new sort of participants bringing new things into the market. And you're right, it's building up the team. It's really what's keeping me busy. And I think I was told, and Dallas also took a long time to find me, and we're taking the same approach. I think you've sort of interviewed many fintechs and tech companies and founders. I think people do resonate. I think having the people with the right culture, with the right mindset, is super super important, especially in a startup. So yeah, what's keeping me busy is going out, meeting different people, like what I'm doing today is spreading the word of what Endow is doing and making sure that the people I hire really understand our vision, our mission, because we are a very mission vision driven company, and we hope that every employee of ours also shares our same mission. I think our co-founders are fantastic. We have this sort of rule that no matter how junior you are, even like a fresh grad out of college, when you join our company, we give you ESOP, a stock in our company to make sure that you do think from a stakeholder, a mindset instead of, oh, I'm just an employer. So yeah, this is what's keeping me busy, going out, spreading the word of Endowus, hiring people, and I guess what's important is, yes, we've been quite successful in Hong Kong. On the surface, Hong Kong and Singapore might be similar, but like locally, we have this phrase, right? Same, same, but different. But there are differences between Singapore and Hong Kong. So also getting feedback from different people on what they think about Endow us, how we should localize our strategy, our product offering, how we should tailor how we speak to our clients. These are all things that are keeping me busy, but very excited. I think they are very unique, and I can't wait till the day I can share with you the Hong Kong platform. And Medhy, you can sign up and be one of my first customer.
Definitely, I will do it. Do you face any challenge working with some of the like large bank here or large institution or some of the family offices?
Um, I always don't think it's a zero sum game. I think in the past couple years, the big quote unquote disruption in Hong Kong is like, oh, you have 8 virtual banks entering into the market, right? Um, as an end customer, I actually really, really see the big difference with the new entrants. The UI UX, the user experience of the big banks, e-banking apps, significantly improved because now you have competition, right? And I think everything that with new participants coming is it's helping to create a better experience for the end customer. And this is also what I think, or my hope for Endowus. I think the market is really big. I'm not trying to monopolize the market. Like Hong Kong is strategically important because we're the offshore wealth management center for China, which is a huge market. I don't expect us all. I want 90% market share. But what I do hope for Endowus is what Medhy I shared with you earlier, how to create a more client-centric mindset in the industry. I think historically there are a lot of old habits of how things are done. Um, as I mentioned, very product focused, resistance to change. I understand, right? Like it works, like why change? But with new players like us, coming to market, I think the biggest hope I have is for us introducing things like fee only model, more transparency. I do hope it helps the industry to also pivot towards a more client centric mindset. So it's net in the end, it's good for clients. I think, as I mentioned, I do market research. I talk to our clients, potential clients or friends and family. All of them want to manage their wealth better, but they don't know who to ask. They're flooded with like a lot of information because now everything's on the web. You have all these great trading apps, but now it's like information overload is like another problem. But when they go to the bank, they're really scared. Like they know the client advisor is going to try to sort of high pressure like recommend them to buy that focus fund of the month. But I think all this is happening because it's inherently how the system was designed. With Endowus coming in, we're trying to introduce a new way of how we think about client-centric alignment of interests, load, fair, transparent fees. I think these are all really good things for the end client. So going back to your question, I always think it's it's coopetition. I do think I want to work together to grow the pie bigger. That more clients would be holistically thinking about managing their wealth, and the competition within the ecosystem encourage all of us to improve our offerings.
You mentioned about like the habits of the end customer, and I do see from my discussion I have with different like entrepreneur like you about like the impact of COVID because people invest a lot at that moment, but also right now about inflations and people don't want to lose the value of money. They want to invest to at least keep like 2, 3, 5, 6% return if it's possible. When the inflation, especially in Europe, it's like high, really high right now. Do you see as well from your colleagues, also from your experience when you speak with the different partners that you got, um, a change of habits for the end users or for the people using application like yours? Because you mentioned that they want to invest, but do you see like something changing in their habits because of this inflation or everything happening in the world right now?
Yes, I mean, sorry to be cliche, but I think COVID was a big game changer. I think particularly we're both in Hong Kong. Hong Kong had quite a hard sort of struck earlier this year. What we call it the fifth wave, and we didn't have the crazy type of lockdowns, but de facto kind of lockdowns. People stayed at home, so um, even my parents, like my mom as example, historically has a really close relationship with the bank RM. She likes to go down to the bank to do everything, but for 3 4 months, bank branches were shut, so she was forced to learn e-banking. So you rightly mentioned, right? Even the last frontier of clients, like my parents, are now embracing digital. And once she's tasted, oh, how convenient it is, she's like telling me, why was I so stupid? Like every time do little things, like I don't have to run to the bank. But I do think, why such as Endowus, we have a hybrid model, which is not just online model. I think clients are increasingly getting more high maintenance. Is not, oh, only digital, is not only offline, is omni-channel, and is like, today for this thing it's easy, I want online, but for other things I want offline. It's that omni-channel touch points, different types of interaction. I do think the habits are changing. I think previously we sort of very sort of roughly just say, oh, some people self-directed online, some people, oh, they prefer offline, but it's everything is blurring, right? Even my mom, like, really embracing WeChat, Taobao, e-commerce, HKTV Mall. So like in on our platform, we have clients in their 70s, in their 80s on our platform, and you'd have that stereotypical thinking, like, oh, such a old person, maybe they prefer offline. But no, these some of them are self-directed clients on our platform. They don't need a client advisor advising them offline. So I do definitely think with COVID there is this change of behavior that I think it's blurred. You don't have clear cut. Oh, this is offline customer. This is online customer. Everyone's going to be omni-channel. It's a mix of online and offline, and it sets a higher bar for service providers, for us to think about our strategy to serve different clients. But that's why I find technology very exciting. Technology can enable us to do that. Previously, it's really difficult, right? But now. We can do it, and we can answer to clients' new appetite of ways of how they want to be served.
Perfect. We are very close to the end of this interview. One of the questions I like to ask all of the people coming here is, do you have any recommendation in terms of books or podcasts you're listening?
I'm actually a big fan on biographies and autobiographies. And in my career, I think two people really influenced me along the way. One is Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba. I read, clichely, I read his biography, and I thought, wow, the thing that he did really changed e-commerce or commerce in general in China, and I really wanted to join the company, so I joined Alibaba. So that book was called Alibaba, the house that Jack Ma built. That was a book that had a big impact on me. And when I moved over to the asset wealth management world, another key figure that really influenced me was Mr. John Bogle. He was the founder of Vanguard. So, Vanguard, for those of you guys who are not familiar, they are the pioneer of low cost mutual funds, index funds in the US. They're the largest mutual fund company in the world. And John Bogle, interestingly, he in the 1970s, he kind of had like a similar vision mission of Endowus. He thought, why why are retail investors paying so much to buy these active funds that are not performing, not beating the market? So he came up with this idea, why don't I create this index passive funds that's very low cost? And for 10 years, he didn't really get a lot of traction. People like laughed at him, like, it's not going to work. Investing is all about active investing. But he believed he's doing something good. Again, that client-centric mindset. Although he didn't gather a lot of steam, but he really pushed on. And after 5-10 years, it really shows that passive funds is the right way for retail investors to get some exposure in their portfolios. And the company's sort of trajectory, it's like this, and then boom, exponential growth. And his obviously, when you're starting a company and a startup entrepreneurial life, at times things are difficult. You're just like, oh, I want to give up. But then oftentimes I go back to the story of John Bogle, and it it really gives me that encouragement. For 10 years, people laughed at him, and now he built the largest asset manager, largest fund manager in the world. And I was fortunate enough to visit the Vanguard headquarters a couple right before COVID, when I set up the joint venture between Ant and Vanguard in Shanghai, and I saw his statue. I saw how the influence he has on the employees of Vanguard. In fact, in the U.S., there's this organization called Boglehead, every year they gather together to discuss some of the principles, the things that John Bogle say, and they have this annual conference. So he really left a mark to the industry, to the employees, to his clients, and yeah, this is something that really motivates me when I have bad days. And yeah, he writes a lot of books, so I do read his books from time to time to give me that motivation when I have a hard day.
Okay, very interesting. I didn't know his story. Um, where else people can sign up to your application Endowus?
So right now, we are offering is only in Singapore.
Okay.
We are planning to soft launch in Hong Kong end of this year. So you guys can keep posted. We already have a wait list. So for those of you interested, you can sign up on our wait list. We have curated content for those of you who are signed up on our wait list. And yeah, you'll get first dips when we launch officially later this year, a soft launch, and then probably a public launch early next year.
And if people want to reach out to you to have some information, maybe to discuss with you, or maybe if to apply, how can they do it?
Yeah, so I am quite active on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And yeah, we have a lot of information on our Endowus website if you want to learn more about Endowus. And as I mentioned, we have a waitlist. So if you guys want to learn more about Endowus, subscribe to our waitlist, reach out to me on LinkedIn. And as Medhy said, I'm going to get more involved with FTA HK, FinTech Association of Hong Kong. So I'll also be joining events organized by the association.
Thank you very much for today. It was a great interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Medhy. So great to share my journey and my company with you.
For everyone watching this video or listening this podcast, feel free to share it with your friends. Thank you very much for your support, and I see you really soon. Ciao, bye bye.